Hello and welcome to Cooking with Deep Fried Dynamite Dave. Today we're going to make some pizza. This might save you some money on a Friday or Saturday night. Here are the ingredients. I like to use a stand-up mixer to combine the water and the sugar and the salt with the yeast. You can use quick dry yeast, that's what I prefer, or you can use regular yeast. If you use regular yeast though, you're going to need to let the pizza dough rise for a longer period of time. With quick rise yeast, you don't even necessarily need to let it bloom. And when I say bloom, I mean get kind of bubbly, like we see here. Regardless, after the yeast blooms, we can start to add the remaining ingredients to the dough, which would be oil. And I like to throw a little teaspoon of garlic powder in here, along with a healthy teaspoon of Italian seasonings. I use 4¼ cups of flour, but I don't use it all at the same time. I like to add this initial 4 cups to the mixer, and then I get this stirring for a little while until it starts to get tacky. It might take you a couple of minutes to see it thicken up and get sticky. After you see that stickiness and the balls start to form, carefully add that remaining 1/4 cup of flour. I have made this recipe numerous times, and that amount seems to work fairly well for us. And you can mix this on various speeds. Do it quickly or medium. Once you see the dough stop sticking to the insides of the pan, that's a good indication that your dough is ready to be placed aside to rise. So some good tips here. Once we're done mixing this, you want to gently pull this off the hook, and once you get it off the hook and into the pan, I like to take a brush with some olive oil and gently coat the dough and the inside of the pan. This should help keep the dough moist, and it'll help keep it from sticking to the pan when you go to transfer it to another bowl if you choose to use a different bowl for it to rise in. And that's what I'm going to do here. I was making 2 batches here. So for each batch, I'll coat the dough with oil. And I'm not afraid to use too much. We've only used 2 tablespoons in the recipe, so an additional ½ tablespoon here or a full tablespoon won't hurt anything. It actually, it's expected. So in another bowl, we're going to coat with olive oil the sides and the bottom, and then we're going to put the pizza dough into that bowl. Now, as you clean up, it's best to rinse your dishes and spatulas with hot water to get that dough off them. You want to do your best to keep dough off of your washcloth. It's very hard to get that out, so that's my tip of the day for making pizza dough. Don't wipe up pizza dough with the rag. So here we're going to let this rise for a couple of hours at room temperature. It's okay to let it rise longer than that. And this is what it looks like after it's risen. It gets pretty large. Now we're going to go ahead and put this on the counter. This is enough dough to make about 2 large pizzas. So we're going to do our best to keep that dough from sticking on the counter. You can use a rolling pin or just use your hands to get this into a pizza shape. You might be better than me at making a circular pizza out of just plain dough without using a rolling pin, whatever method you prefer. I prefer you to use a rolling pin until I get this baby rolled out the width of the pan. And just continue to use flour as needed to keep it from sticking to your surface. So here I'm using a deep dish pan, but you can use any pan that you have on hand, preferably a thinner pan to make sure that the bottom of the pizza gets crispy. And it's nice to kind of push it up on the sides. Now we're going to transition into making some pizza sauce. Pizza sauce is pretty easy. Don't be intimidated. And you can use really ingredients to your own liking. I use a small can of tomato paste with a large can of tomato sauce. Then I like to put in some crushed oregano, about a 1/4 teaspoon. A few grinds of salt, which likely adds up to about a 1/2 teaspoon or so. I don't want it too salty. And then I like to put in some more Italian seasoning, the same stuff we used in the pizza dough. And then finally, a little bit of garlic powder, usually about a teaspoon. You don't have to be exact on these ingredients. And if you make this several times, you might want to tweak some of these ingredients to suit your own palate. So it takes about 1.5 minutes to get the sauce mixed up well. Now before I put the sauce on, I like to use a fork to poke holes in the pizza crust. Nothing more disappointing than ordering a pizza and finding there's a huge air bubble on it and there's no sauce or anything on that piece, and nobody wants that piece of pizza. So poking these holes should allow those air bubbles to escape, and everybody gets a good piece of pie. So again, I am preferential to the brush as opposed to using a spoon or the back of a spoon to paste on pizza sauce. I find that using a brush allows the pizza sauce to more evenly cover the dough. I use fresh grated mozzarella cheese, and you can use as much as you want. Here's where you can be creative and put whatever ingredients on the pizza that you prefer. Some folks in my family don't like mushrooms, so I usually end up putting mushrooms on my half or my 1/4, and onions and whatnot. After I put the ingredients on, I like to sprinkle a little extra cheese over the top of the pizza. Kind of helps give it a better look, and it seems to be more appealing, at least in my opinion. But again, you can make this any way that you want. Here I'm putting on some onions and some chopped green pepper, or yellow peppers. Yes, and after we sprinkle on a little extra cheese, we're going to throw this in the oven. We're going to bake this at 450 degrees for about 13 to 15 minutes, and then shazam. This will save you $50 on a Friday or Saturday night and be just as delicious as store-bought, if not better, and customized to your own taste. Now, if you have any leftover dough, watch out for my easy calzone recipe on my channel. Thanks for watching.